welcome back to Dimensional Soul Healing with your host, Gracen. I am super excited to discuss today's topic, which is actually several different topics, but I do want to preface by saying how I am currently recovering from purging out some old energy out of my throat chakra, definitely my upper chakras for sure, and a little bit about what all of that means. And so yeah, let's start there. Let's start the conversation there. So, if you guys listened to my last podcast episode, you would hear me, I think it was like in the middle of that episode, I was channeling because something came up in my throat and I just couldn't access like what it was. Like my throat felt super weird and I was like, what is this? And I couldn't put my finger on it. And just a couple of days ago, I had this past lifetime come up in my third eye, like literally. It was super crazy. I'll just give you like a little bit of the details, but I just saw the letters Vatican in my third eye and I was like, okay. And I saw this being, this like dark being, this entity that literally killed me in that lifetime, like literally cut the back of my throat. Like I was a male in that past lifetime and I made my way up in the ranks of the church. I'm pretty sure it was the Catholic Church. And I basically saw, like, what the, like, top, like, how do I put this into words? It was, like, I saw, like, what the top of the top is, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't make sense. Anyways, you guys know what I'm saying. Like, the top 1% of the Catholic Church. And so I saw it for, like, what it actually was. And, yeah, I was just, like, I'm going to tell everybody about what this is, like, what the foundation of this actually is. Like, no, like people are not going to like worship this anymore. This is like super messed up, like just all this stuff, right? Like there was pedophilia going on, like all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyway, which still mirrors today in this lifetime. But anyways, so I just remember like being a kid and growing up with my mother's side of the family. They were Catholic, and my dad's side of the family, who was Jewish. Super funny because I had past lifetime ties to Catholicism and I also had past lifetime ties to Judaism. And so anyway, I just remember like being a kid and like I was listening to all the adults around me. Like I'm so grateful. I had this freedom of thought. Like I could think for myself, even being like 4 or 5 years old. Like religious wise, obviously. Like there was just no coercing me. There was no conditioning me to believe in a certain religion. Like it just wasn't happening, which is pretty funny because growing up with a Catholic mom and a Jewish dad, like you think like I would have gravitated to, either parent or whatever. And so anyway, yeah, I just remember like I would go to church and like I'd go to Catholic church with like my mom and my sister. And I just remember, like, holding the Bible and, like, the whole experience was just so weird. It felt weird in there. Like, I was like, what the fuck? This place feels disgusting. Like, it feels weird. Like, I don't like it. I never have, never will. And then I'd go to the temple with my dad on Saturdays because a lot of Jewish people go to temple on Saturdays. And so I remember going to temple and thinking, like, how weird it was and how weird the energy was. And I'm like, there's something off about this place. I don't know what it is. But, yeah, now fast forward to 2023 with my psychic abilities like fully turned online and I'm super sensitive to energies. Like now I know what I was picking up on as a kid. Like, really quick story. I was driving to work. So I used to work at this diner like 5 minutes down the street from my house. And I was going to get coffee one morning and I was so tired. I like missed the turn down the road and I had to turn into like this Mormon church. Like, I don't know if it was like, I don't know the correct terminology or the appropriate terminology to label the Mormon church or LDS church. I really don't know the difference because I just hear like back and forth from so many different people in Utah. So, for the sake of it, I'm just going to call it the LDS church. And so anyway, I turned into the church parking lot and immediately, like before I actually pulled into that parking lot to like make a U-turn and turn around, like before I got stuck, my intuition was like, oh my God, do not pull in here. Don't do it. And I was like, well, no, I don't really care. Like I'm super exhausted. Like I literally just want to get to my coffee place, And so I pulled in anyway. I just totally disregarded my intuition. I swear to God, I felt so many like dark entities, especially like dark reptilian entities, like in that parking lot. And I was like, oh my God, like I just wanted to bring my sage and like work with some like high vibrational energies to clear out that church. And really fun fact, I feel like we're going on lots of different tangents, but just stay with me, bear with me. A lot of churches were built on sacred sites, and so not all of them, but a lot of them were. And yeah, I feel like because of the imbalance with the dark and light polarity on this planet, like I feel like, how do I say this? There's like, I just want to jump from like the human perspective to the higher perspective, so I'm just going to do it. So from a higher perspective, churches and religion served humanity at one point in time in their collective contracts because humanity got so disconnected from source that, the bringing about of religion was a way to like help people connect with source and help humanity on a spiritual level. And now that those collective contracts have expired, like truly I believe that churches and religion are completely outdated. They do not serve a purpose anymore. Like they just all need to collapse and crumble and just fall apart because the foundation of religion, was based on negative intentions. And that's the thing, is you really have to take a step back and question your entire belief system, your behaviors, and how that affects your reality, because we're going to get into that today. I don't know if you guys know this. I studied biology and chemistry in university. Like I literally was a double major. I was so good at chemistry. Like, oh my God, science was my jam. Like I loved it. Totally like could understand it forwards, backwards, sideways, diagonal. Like I just literally love science. And so anyway, yeah, so let's see. Where was I at before we start going on all these tangents? We're like 8 minutes into the podcast. Haven't even covered the throat chakra stuff fully. Okay, let's see. Let's back it up. Let's take it back to, okay, yeah, let's take it back to that past lifetime remembering. So anyways, coming back, bringing it back full circle to the throat chakra. So yeah, I started feeling something in my throat chakra last week, and I was like, what is this? Like, is there stuff clearing? Like, is this an upgrade? Like, what is this, right? And my friend Key put this perfectly, which is when we can go through purging, upgrades, and getting access to new frequencies and light codes and just basically up-leveling our entire energetic existence, it can cause cold-like symptoms because it is that higher energy is causing that old energy to literally leave the non-physical and come out through our bodies, like literally physically purge, and it manifests as cold-like symptoms. So she put it perfectly, like if it's in the heart chakra and up, so heart chakra, throat, third eye, crown, you can have cold symptoms. And then below the heart chakra, which is solar plexus, sacral, and the root, you can have stomach issues, back pain, like all that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, super interesting. And so yeah, I literally was like, oh my gosh, like that's what freaking came up in my throat chakra. Like, of course, like it was a freaking past lifetime. And I just didn't catch it in time, like to heal it, like on a non-physical level. And so it just purged out of my physical body as a sore throat. I don't have any congestion. My sinuses are like a little swollen, but, for the most part, I'm like pretty much almost recovered fully. Like it wasn't super intense. It was a little rough, but not as rough as what I went through back in May of this year. Oh my gosh. I don't know what the heck I was purging out of my throat, but I was super sick for like 3 weeks. Like my tonsils were swollen like the size of cherry tomatoes because I had so much energetic buildup that I just I wasn't listening, and it just built up and built up and built up, and then it all just released through this crazy sore throat that I had with cold-like symptoms. And so anyway, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about how a lot of us right now, whether you're listening to this, today on Sunday, October the 8th, 2023, or whatever point in time this podcast episode finds you, if you are experiencing cold-like symptoms, I really want you to take a step back and understand that, yes, like viruses are real, bacteria is real. However, so is the non-physical, so is detoxing old energies. That is also real, and that also can represent cold-like symptoms. And just because we are detoxing that old energy does not mean that we have a virus. And that's going to be pretty wild for some of y'all to hear for the first time. And one of the things that I channeled, having my biology and chemistry background very thoroughly in university, like I literally was on a pre-med track. I took virology, histology, like I took all of the classes that, you would take to get into pre-med, and I just remember, like, my intuition was like, do not become a doctor, like, do not go that route, like, no, like, do not do it. And so, anyways, yeah, I really loved science, and I just totally was like, I studied it, like, super in depth, and I was very intimate with it, and I just understood how everything worked. And so, when I would see people go to medical school right after university and, see them become doctors and stuff, and I would just see them not integrating the stuff they learned in undergrad, I'm like, so you didn't really pay attention to, like, what you were, like, learning in university. You were literally just, like, bypassing to just basically get a check, right, for being a doctor. But anyway, like, who doesn't do that, I've run into so many dentists and doctors who do that. But anyways, I'm not going to go there. That's, like, a whole tangent I could go on, but yeah, like, I really want to talk about how even though you may be experiencing congestion, you may be experiencing sore throat, it doesn't mean you have strep, it doesn't mean you have a virus, it doesn't mean you have a cold. It just means that your body is literally doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is releasing that old energy. And when we're not listening to something, when we're not paying attention, it can totally catch us off guard, like, totally messes with our schedule, like, makes us, like, forces us to rest, forces us to take a step back from life and sit down and, sleep and get all the nutrients back in our body and everything. And, yeah, I was having a conversation with one of my favorite, like, restaurant people today. I ordered food from this one place, like, 10 minutes down the street from me because I love it so much. It's, like, my favorite pho place. But, yeah, I was telling her because she was, like, she came from a very, like, fear-based perspective, which I totally honor, like, where she was at, like, in her journey, like, I understood why she would feel that way and why she perceived life that way, right? Because I used to be there, too. Like, I literally used to be there before I started evolving my consciousness, and so I understand why she said the things that she said to me. I understand why she sees life the way she does, and so then I told her, because I walked in, I was like, oh, yeah, like, I love your food, it's so healing, like, feels so good in my throat. And she's all, oh yeah, be careful, like, the flu's going around and COVID's going around, all this stuff. And I was like, well, let me tell you something, because I know when I'm actually sick with a virus and bacteria, and I know when I'm just going through, like, a really high detox on a spiritual level, like, on a non-physical level. And I was just, like, talking to her for, like, 5 minutes about it, and she was like, wow, like, that's so cool, like, I love how in tune you are with your body. And I'm like, yeah, like, you can do this too, And that's the thing is, like, I've seen so much, what's the term I want to use? Like, I want to say, like, maybe, like, spiritual, like, discourse. I don't really know if that's accurate, but basically it's like this conversation, these toxic conversations that some people in the spiritual communities, like, have of, viruses aren't real, or, viruses are a hoax, or whatever it is that they want to project. And let me just say how detrimental that can be, because it's like, yes, we are encouraged to speak our truth. Like, that's literally, like, what everybody in the spiritual community says, like, speak your truth, stand in your power. And then it's like, how do you listen to somebody who's speaking their truth, but it's, like, not factual information, like, it's not of a vibrational resonance, right? Like, which is interesting, actually. This is all coming through right now, which is, depending on what people say around you is going to depend on what your soul needs to hear, what it desires to hear, right? So your soul is desiring to hear specific information to either teach you discernment or to add value to your soul wisdom library, right? Like, that's the way I see it. And so, when I hear people in the spiritual community like say things I absolutely disagree with because of my own experiences, because of my own channeling, because of my direct connection to source and my instantaneous ability to download anything I like want to know about. I hear them say stuff, right? Which is just, I know like they're at a really beginning stage in their spiritual journey and they just don't know any better. Like that's literally how I would describe it. Like, okay. So I'm feeling guided to share this story really quick, which is in the very beginning of my own spiritual journey, I was drawn to going to this crystal shop. And one of my biggest soul lessons was I had to learn what not to do. And I had to come into contact with specific souls who had specific belief systems, who had specific programmings, and who would project different beliefs, who were very strong in their ego, right? Their egoical selves, not their soul self, but like not their authentic self. Like none of them were their authentic self. And I had literally, it was part of my contracts. I had to learn what not to do so that when I became a teacher and a healer and I fully stepped into like what I came here to do, you know, I needed to learn that discernment of what not to do, right? It's like when you're a kid and you're growing up and like you're learning what to do and what not to do. It's the same thing. It's like learning what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And so, yeah, throughout that entire experience, I learned what isn't appropriate and what is appropriate. And that taught me so much. Excuse me. And yeah, so I just want to say, like, just if you're listening to what people say around you, which you're going to be listening to what people say around you, like regardless, people are going to always have their own beliefs. They're going to be strong in their beliefs, depending on where they're at in their own soul journey. And the best piece of advice I can give you is always listen with your soul. Like listen from your heart space, because your heart, like it literally, I swear to God, it has like a heart brain. Like that is the center of your being. There is a golden portal. Like literally my heart, when I saw it in the etheric, when I saw it out of my body, when I literally left my physical body, it looked like a golden portal. And at any time you can use that portal to download information, to, you know, access higher frequencies. You can transmute old energies there. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do with your heart portal. And so anyway, like what I always recommend people doing is like, I tell them to leave their ego behind, leave your programmings behind, leave your conditionings behind. Just literally pretend like you are showing up like totally blank to a conversation and you're just listening with your entire being. You're listening like from your heart center, like from your gut. And instead of your programming, instead of listening from a place of what society told you to believe in, what society told you to think about, how society told you to think, what your family told you to believe in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just listen from your soul space. Yeah, I like that. Listen from your soul space and not your ego space. And then you will feel a vibrational resonance with what people, like certain individuals, are saying. Like, you know, when something is out of alignment with me, I get this like uncomfortable, like solar plexus chakra sensation. Like, it's very clear to me that something is not in alignment for me. I'm like, ooh, this is not for me. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be listening to this person. Like, no. They're not for me, right? Like, and that's this lesson of discernment. Like, I know on a soul level, like, what information is true to me, and I know what isn't. And I've just gone through so many, I don't want to say that, well, I'm just going to say this. My soul is very advanced. It's very old, and it's been through a lot, and I have a lot of wisdom, and I have a lot of experience. And I just know very quickly and very easily when something is, you know, not for the highest good of all and when it is for the highest good of all, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm just going to leave that alone, leave it there. And so, yeah, I kind of want to transition into how we can shift knowing this information, right? Knowing the old energy is purging out of us 24/7, like it's coming out regardless, whether we want it or not, you know? And how can we use that to our advantage, right? Like, how can we alchemize this energy and shift on a cellular level? Like, how can we integrate our Western medicine knowledge with the Eastern knowledge, okay? So I just kind of want to, like, bridge both of these subjects together. So the first thing I really wanted to talk about in this sector of this conversation is how our DNA is highly affected by signals from outside of our cells. So what happens is our thoughts are literally like light waves, like they're light forms, and they communicate on an energetic level. And so our positive and negative thoughts send energetic messages to our cells, right? Keep up with me. I promise this is going to mean something super huge. So, knowing that our DNA is highly affected by signals from outside of our cells and how our positive and negative thoughts send energetic messages to our cells. Okay, moving on. With that being said, each cell in our body has its own consciousness. If you think about it, expand your mind for a second. I'm going to blow your mind. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. When you leave your house and you take a look at the grass and you take a look at the flowers and you take a look at the ducks outside, every single living organism has a consciousness. And all of our consciousness is connected. We are all integrated. That's like the best metaphor that I can use, or maybe simile. Is that the term for it? I don't know. But the best comparison that I can use is the movie Avatar. You know, when they're all connected and they all are like, we're all one, and they're all one with the home tree and everything. And, you know, the ground is sacred, the animals are sacred, the plants are sacred, like everything is sacred, the water is sacred. Y'all, that is for real. Like, it's literally scientifically proven. And it's just a matter of that information getting unsuppressed. And so, yeah, I'm here to unsuppress it. I'm going to be one of the first ones to unsuppress it for y'all. So, anyways. So yeah, knowing that each cell in our body has its own consciousness, so that in a way you can literally talk to all of your cells, your trillions of cells, and tell them how much you love them and thank them for, you know, doing the best that they can, and thank you for keeping me healthy. Thank you so much, cells. I love you so much. Like, it's really profound. And that might make you super emotional. For those of y'all who have never connected with your body, who've never connected with your cells especially, like, I'm telling y'all, that can get really intense. Like, the more you expand your consciousness, the more sensitive you start getting to sentient beings around you, like, especially the cells and everything that is conscious within and outside of you. So anyway, moving on. So knowing all of that background information, so both positive and negative thoughts have an equally profound effect on our behavior and our genetics, okay? Fear, which is a low vibrational frequency, low vibrational emotion, which is one of the emotions we came here to experience, fear actually shuts down cell growth. And I really want to specify that it's not, like, I'm not talking about, like, you know, fear does not shut down, like, cancer. No. Fear shuts down, like, healthy cell growth, okay? And love promotes cell growth. Pretty fascinating. So can you imagine if you dropped into meditation and literally focused on, interesting, like, a tumor in the body? That's really fascinating. If you could just send it unconditional love, focus white light on it, like, daily, I wonder if, yeah, I'm getting that would shrink it. That's interesting. That's fascinating. Yeah, somebody's gonna have to try that and definitely reach out to me, because there are some non-physical and some physical stuff that would go into healing that kind of stuff, right? Of course. Okay, so knowing all of this so far, right? Our cells membranes are covered with identity receptors, which pick up signals from our environment, okay? Which then in turn forms/creates our own identity, right? And so if you really think about this, think about the kind of environment that you were around in childhood and your teenage years and your young adult life. All of that programming gets stored in your subconscious. Like, it's so deep. This stuff is so deep. Like, I feel like I haven't even fully wrapped my head around this stuff yet, but it's so deep. And so if you think about it, on a cellular level, you can totally shift into your highest self, like your highest best self version of you through deprogramming the subconscious mind. And so when you deprogram old belief systems, right, like your old beliefs, old behaviors, and choose, right, stepping into that creator role, not the victim mentality role, but the creator role, to program new molecules of joy, of acceptance, love, gratitude, right? Like there's just, you could do abundance even, right? Like financial abundance, health abundance, right? Like, I mean, it's just limitless. And I really just want to say, like, we are super powerful beings. Like, we literally have the conscious choice at all times to literally shift closer and closer and closer into our highest self versions. And, of course, this is not something that's going to happen overnight, but with, dedication, with choosing to become 1% better each and every day, even if you're not like super overly ambitious, right? Like I would say dedicating like at least maximum 5 days a week to doing 1% better and giving yourself a couple of days off to just like rest and integrate, like 1% better could be, I'm going to start going to the gym, right? And I'm going to take it a next step further. I'm going to invest, instead of doing 1% better, I'm going to do like 50% better and get a personal trainer. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do 75% better and switch up my gym routine and do something different, which is like taking a Dirty Licious dance class, right? Like, I'm going to step it up and do 100% better with my physical health, which is adding on Pilates, And so now, like, you've created this reservoir of, like, your perfect health regimen that suits your highest self-reality, right? Like, your highest, best version of yourself, your highest self-reality is doing Pilates once a week, Dirty Licious dance once a week, and strength training 3 days a week, right? Like, you're building strength in your arms, your chest, your back, and your legs. And so, yeah, like, that's just what it has looked like for me. And, I never, ever saw myself going to the gym. Like, I always tried to go to the gym when I was younger, and I couldn't, like, do it. I hated it, and I hated it for so many reasons. I hated it because, one, I lived in the humidity, and I know for a fact if I still lived in the humidity, I would not be going to the gym because it's just awful working out in a humid environment. Like, I literally just can't breathe well. Like, I just don't like it. Like, I love going to the gym in dry weather. Like, it's so much better for my lungs and so much better just for my body. Anyway, yeah, I never saw myself doing Pilates. I never saw myself doing a Dirty Licious dance class. And like now I have literally like the perfect fitness regimen for myself, which I feel like is going to shift, as I get older and move on with my life. Like, I probably won't always be doing Dirty Licious dance. I probably won't always be doing Pilates. I probably won't always be doing strength training, but at least I built myself a strong physical foundation for myself, right? And so, yeah, the same thing goes for money. It's like 1% better could be learning about cryptocurrency. 1% better could be learning about how to invest in a Roth IRA. 1% better could be, doing a bunch of research in the state that you live in and picking the best credit union to bank with, right? Because I don't like banks, I like credit unions. Yeah, but that's a whole other story in and of itself. So anyway, just think about different things that you can take action on, in the physical that can help you shift into your highest self version of your reality. And also think about the non-physical shifts, right? Like the deprogramming your subconscious mind. And when you start doing that, you are going to be intuitively drawn to doing new things and different things. Like I literally could have never predicted my current fitness like gym schedule at the moment. Like, and it's like literally my favorite thing ever right now. Like I just absolutely love it. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that today and, tie in all these Western, Eastern perspectives into, balancing the physical and non-physical, because I feel like when we focus too much on one side, like it knocks the other one out of balance. And so I like to bring in like my Libra energy, which is like bringing balance to both sides, because I feel like there's both sides have a role to play, like in each and everything that we do and experience. And so, yeah, I feel like everything is really just about balance and finding balance within ourselves and within our lives. So, yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. I'm going to call it good here, wrap it up, and yeah, let me know what you think. Definitely reach out, send me an email, head to my website, communicate with me. Rate this podcast episode, give it 5 stars if it really just lit you up. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday and the rest of your week, and I will see y'all next Sunday.